Hello and welcome to this week's RacingBet preview, looking at a huge day of Group 1 racing at Flemington and Randwick on the 2nd of October. 4 Group 1s across the day, both in Sydney and Melbourne. We've got Turnbull Stakes Day at Flemington in Melbourne and Epsom Handicap Day at Randwick in Sydney, featuring also the Flight Stakes and the Group 1, the Metropolitan. I'm your host, Tim Geers, joined as I am each and every week by Trent Crebbin on the other side. Trent, ready to go again for another big weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. It's another huge day of racing. The Turnbull Stakes in Melbourne is a cracker. I think it's the race of the spring so far. And of course, 3 group runs in Sydney as well. All look very competitive, so can't wait to get stuck into it. Yeah,
absolutely. And hopefully I've fixed my microphone settings from last week. On my end, it seemed to come up a little bit ordinary. So if I do have a problem and you think it sounds like crap or you spot an error or two, make sure you jump in the live comments. You can get through to us as we chat here live on the show. And I'll make sure to fix it as soon as possible. And if you have any other thoughts on any other races or any other questions or any other horses, you can also put your comments in the live chat. I think we're going live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook at the moment. So just throw a comment in the chat and we'll be able to see it on this end. And any good comments or any good questions, we'll try to remember to bring up on screen and discuss as we go. Trent, as I said, 4 Group 1s, Turnbull Stakes Day. We've got the mouthwatering clash at Flemington of Incentivise and Very Elegant. We'll get to that race shortly. In Sydney, 3 Group 1s on the card with the Flight Stakes, the Epsom Handicap, and the Metropolitan. Give us your read on how the Flemington track's going to play this week.
Yeah, it's a little bit up in the air at the moment, the Flemington track. Rails at 9 metres, that's no worries. It's just how much rain the track's going to cop. There's been a bit of rain tonight in Melbourne. I think they copped about 8 to 10 mils or so. So just depending on how much they get tomorrow, I think we're probably going to be looking around a soft 5 is probably the track rating I'm going with. But it will just come down to how much rain we get. And we do know that Flemington dries out very well. So it wouldn't shock to see us get back to a good 4 late in the day.
Yeah, and over in Sydney, I have absolutely no idea. We saw Rosehill was just very, very ordinary last week. They hadn't raced there in 9 weeks. Even the kickback was bad. It played very on-pace bias to those on the rails. Hoping we don't see a similar thing this week. But we do have a little bit of rain forecast in Sydney leading into Saturday. So I'm probably planning for the track to be somewhere in the soft range. But again, it's really hard to tell. We expected a lot of rain, I think, on Wednesday's meeting on the Kenzo, and it didn't quite eventuate. So, we might just need to play it safe in the early couple of races and see what's going on there at Randwick. But fingers crossed, we've got a good, fair track this week. Do forgive us if there's a little bit of production issues throughout. As you can see, I've been in surgery this week on a thumb, so I'm trying to operate as we go with basically 1.5 hands. So we're doing our best here. But Trent, you're going to kick us off with your best bet at Flemington this weekend. A big fan of the people, this horse. Can she discover her best? This is race 6, number 3, Mystic Journey, currently $4.40 with this week's show sponsor, winnersbet.com.au.
The short answer is no. She probably won't get back to her best, but I don't think she needs to win this race. We know her best is very, very good. She won an Australian Guineas in the first All-Star Mile at Flemington. I thought her first up run in the Let's Elope Stakes at this track and distance, you can see there on the screen, was excellent. She's in the red and white, just the widest runner coming to the straight there. She was basically 4 and 5 wide, no cover the entirety of that race. Runs on really strongly to get about a length behind Turath, who was in excellent form. She ran the fastest sectionals of the day. Last 600, 400, 200 were all the best of the meeting. She's got a very good second up record. I think it's 6 starts, 2 wins, 3 seconds. She obviously goes very well here at Flemington. A bit of cut out of the ground will be no problem at all for her. And she's just got such good class, and I think she's come back somewhere near her best. And if she is anywhere near her best, they won't see which way she goes, Mystic Journey. I'm quite keen, actually.
Okay, and as I said, $4.40 there with winnersbet.com.au. Australian owned and operator. So jump on WinnersBet this weekend if you are having a bet, and we thank them again for sponsoring this week's show. Move on to my best bet of the day. This comes up in race number 5 at Randwick. I think this is the Yulong Hill Stakes, and I'm pretty keen on the toppy here. Think it over. It's currently at even money with winnersbet.com.au. This was him chasing the likes of Very Elegant and Riadini out the front here last start. He was sat 3 wide the trip on this occasion, just had no favours at all, but he's returned in super form this preparation, this horse. He's really stamped himself in his previous 2 preparations as a legitimate Group 1 horse. his run this day was enormous. You can see him there just getting into second, and you're about to see Very Elegant getting up on his inside. But yeah, he's going absolutely super here. Back to Group 2 company, up to the 2,000 metres won't worry him at all. I think he's got 2 wins already over this track and distance, or at least 2 wins at the 2,000 metres. National Wheeler sticks with him. And look, he's only giving 3 kilos away to the bottom weight, which is Duace. She carries 56, he carries 59 here. So track conditions doesn't bother him at all. As I said, good record at the track and distance. And I think if he turns up at his very best and he wasn't flattened by the George Main run, I think he'll prove too good. That's race 5, number 1, Think It Over. Currently even money with winnersbet.com.au. Trent, any thoughts on those before we move on to the day's first Group 1 over in Melbourne?
Yeah, I think that run of Think It Over was huge as well. That day, just to note quickly as well, the fence was the place to be there. So I thought Very Elegant actually got the favours going up the inside, and he did it the tough way. So yeah, it looks really hard to beat. Now that Very Elegant's gone to Melbourne, he should just be winning there, shouldn't he?
I hope so. He's right at the top of my boyfriend's list. He's
one of your favourites, isn't he?
I love him.
A few times.
I love him. I mean, it's hard not to like him when you tip him at 40-1 and he wins a Group 1. But yeah, he's just gone to a new level the last 2 preps, and he just always runs his heart out. You can't ask for much more than that. All right, first Group 1 of the day. We'll go with you in Melbourne because this is the clash that everyone is talking about. This is the Group 1 Turnbull Stakes at Flemington. Incentivise versus Very Elegant. Trent, which way are you going? I'll throw on the replay of Incentivise. He obviously delivered on the hype with his first run in Melbourne, first run at Weight for Age Group 1 company, and he won it. And I'll show you the replay over the top as you discuss.
Yeah, so I thought he was going to be found out first up at 1,600 metres. He went quite slowly in the lead, which I actually think was a bit of a detriment to him. I think he's much better when he goes fast and kind of breaks their heart. You see the horses, Tofane is basically level with him at the 200 metres, and he fights them all off. That all being said, I've eventually lent the way of Very Elegant. I just want to bring up a stat for you. Third up, Very Elegant. 6 starts, 5 wins and a second. And the only time she's missed was in a Randwick Stakes, the first time she clashed with a Daib. I just think if you would you back a Daib to beat Incentivise? I think most people probably would. And, he only beat her by half a length on that day. So third up here, she won this race last year. She gets a lovely map. I think she just follows Incentivise basically wherever he goes. I'm just tipping that she's got that. She's kind of got the runs on the board at 2,000 metres. Hopefully gets a little bit of give in the ground as well. A soft track would be ideal for her. And I think she's going to be close enough to really make it a fight the last 400 metres or so. Incentivise is obviously a very good horse. It almost appears as if he's got the Caulfield Cup at his mercy. If he wins this, good luck beating him in a Caulfield Cup. But yeah, it is a tricky one. This is a tougher race, but yeah, I've eventually just lent the way of Very Elegant and hoping that fighting quality comes out in her, but it wouldn't shock me to see either of them win.
We saw Incentivise go straight to the top last start. Does he go straight to the top and lead again, or do we see some pressure from his outside from something like Mount Popper, or is there anything else in the lead in the race you can see kind of pressuring him today?
I think Incentivise leads again, and I think he'll go a little bit quicker than he did last start up to 2,000 metres. Now he's had that pipe opener. Mount Popper's a tricky one. They've got that Caulfield Cup berth already locked in. So whether they want to use him up from an outside gate, I'm not sure. He's a chance of going forward and settling outside the lead. Persen probably lands leaders back. Very Elegant, I've got landing 1-1. The one that could potentially push forward, I'd be very interested to see if they put out a change of tactics, is Colette. She's got the tactical speed to go forward, but they've ridden her very negatively her first 2 starts, and she's run really well. She gets in quite low at the weights here under the set weights and penalties. If they sent her forward, I think she'll run a huge race. She's probably a lock for top 3 if that happens. But yeah, I think Incentivise leads and Very Elegant probably sits 1-1, and Damien Lane won't want to be too far off Incentivise as they come around the corner.
So as it stands here, as you can see, the market on screen at the moment, courtesy of winnersbet.com.au, we've got Very Elegant into $2.30 favouritism and Incentivise at $2.70. Sir Dragon A rounding out those in single figures with Colette both at $7.50. So how are you playing this race from a betting perspective, Trent?
Look, I think you probably have to be Team Very Elegant or Incentivise. You could make small cases for Sir Dragon A and Colette, but I've landed on Very Elegant, win only. I'm not really sure what the market will do with it either. I can see it going. The early market's been for Very Elegant, and whether that's just a little bit of recreational money, perhaps it'll be interesting to see what the kind of the big market movers do at crunch time. I'm actually not sure which way it's going to go. So Very Elegant on top, maybe holding out for a little bit of a better price with winners bet late, but yeah, it's a tricky one, and it should be a great race.
Fascinating race. Can't wait for it. Okay, let's get into the Group 1s in Sydney at Randwick. We've got 3 of them, as I said, the Flight Stakes, the Epsom and the Metrop. We'll kick off with the Flight Stakes, and we've spoken on this show in recent weeks, Trent, about how these fillies just keep going round and round and round and round, and they just take their turns in winning, and it's no real difference that I can see this week in the Flight Stakes. Big field, 16 runners. Where do we start here? I know I'm meant to be previewing the Sydney stuff here, but I'm going to need your help. I'm going to throw to you to talk about one filly in particular, because this was one we were just speaking about off air that we both thought was probably over the odds, and that's horse number 8, Von Trapp, for Mark Newnham and Josh Parr. I'll throw up the replay of the Group 2 T-Rose Stakes last start, where many of these fillies met on that occasion, and we'll meet again here. Take us through your thoughts on Von Trapp, because I know that you were keen before you came on air.
Yeah, I kind of threw up Von Trapp in the T-Roses at 50s as, kind of group chat as an each way kind of chance. And I thought she ran really well here. She's in the red with the yellow stripes, just back towards the inside, looking for runs here. Runs on really strongly to get 4th, beaten just over 2 lengths. I think out of the Flight Stakes, she's the one that's going to be really suited getting to the mile. She's by Frankel. We know, his progeny really get better over a mile to 2,000 meters. She draws really wide here again, which is not ideal. So she probably goes back again. They did change of tactics to go back last start, so maybe they change again and try and go forward. I'm not sure. I thought she was about $21 or so. Been a bit of support for her already. So, look, I thought she was potentially an each way, an each way play on the race. But like you said, these fillies go around, and it'll probably just come down to who turns up on the day and who gets the right run.
Yeah, I suppose the X factor in the race, or the point of difference in terms of the form lines, is Star Tontes coming out of last weekend's Golden Rose, of course. She was super, absolutely super. Settled last on the fence, ran home really strongly, particularly between the 8 and the 2, was beaten 2.9 lengths by In the Congo and Animo. Of course, that form is A-grade. We know that. Concern being, 1, how far back is she going to get again? And 2, can she back up 7 days after? That was a brutally run race.
Yeah, it's tricky. I think you probably got a bit of a query on her at the mile as well. That was her first go at 1,400 meters. It was a big run. I'll say it potentially was flattered just a little bit because she was on the rails the whole way, which I think was clearly an advantage on the day compared to Animo and Artorias coming wide. There was probably 2 lengths advantage, to put it into terms. I'm not sure. She's got to be a big chance on the backup. If she handles that and does run 1,600 meters, that form just looks stronger than the T-Rose. It's just whether she's going to do that. She's been backed into favoritism. I can definitely understand why, but it's just one of those races that you potentially don't really want to take anything at the short odds and just look for a bit of value.
I'll tell you what's going to happen here, because we're just discussing this before we came on live. She's all class. I think I've been on her 2 starts this preparation. Inevitably, I'll be jumping off. She gets the blinkers on. J-Max sticks. Chris Waller will have her cherry ripe fed up from a spell. Double figure odds, she'll win. And now that I've said that, I'll have to include her in my preview. But yeah, I just think this is a race it's impossible to be confident on here. I couldn't take anything that's strongly in the market. Yeah, if I had to, gun to my head, had to have something on, I'd probably be having something on She's All Class at double figures and Von Trapp at 20-1 or thereabouts. If you have any different thoughts, or you've got the winner of the Group 1 Flight Stakes, throw it in the comments. We'll throw it up on screen, and hopefully you can give us a lead in there, because me and Trent don't have much to go off. All right, the second Group 1 and the main one at Randwick this weekend is the Group 1 Tab Epsom Handicap. Now, this is a cracking Group 1. We see a mix of form lines, a mix of, A-grade horses, a good spread in the weights, of course, 57 down to the minimum 50 and a half. Several angles to look at. 1,600 metres, the Randwick Mile, Trent. I'll kick off with you. The top weight here, Mo'unga, coming out of the run. We saw the replay before behind Incentivise in Melbourne. Prior to that, he won the Group 1 Wing Stakes first up from a spell. Has to carry top weight here and does draw wide. But if you look back through the recent winners of this race, you've got 4 years in a row there with Winks, Haraki, Happy Clapper, and Hartnell all carrying 57 or 56 kilos. And furthermore to that, I'll read you out the recent barrier positions for the winners for this race. 15, 12, 10, 2, 10, 12, 10, 10. So out of the past 8 winners, 7 have drawn a double-figure barrier. So if something's got weight here or does draw wide, I wouldn't be put off. I wouldn't be putting a line through them in this race. But Mo'unga, I think there's $7 available with winnersbet.com.au. Looks a reasonable price.
Yeah, it does. I'm not really sure what
you don't sound that confident.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to do with him. I understand that he has to be in the market just because he's got that much class.
Sure.
But he was originally, I think he was going to be running in the Turnbull, and they've decided to run him in the Epsom here. So, yeah, look, not really sure what to do with him with the 57. Is he up to a class of like a Happy Clapper or a Hartnell? Not yet. Definitely not yet. But yeah, no worries with the wide barrier. That's probably suits him anyway. I think it's similar in the Doncaster as well. Those wide barriers, just because there's such a long run to the first turn, I think it's about 800 meters or something crazy until you really hit a sharp turn in that race. So yeah, wide barrier is no disadvantage. I was probably happy just to leave him out at the price and look for something potentially down in the weights.
We say he might not be up to that class, but first up, he's beaten Very Elegant. We know she's going to win a Group 1 since. And then second up, he's run into Incentivise, which is favourite for bloody every race in the Southern Hemisphere. You're not going to find form lines stronger than that in Australia anywhere you look, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. He has come back exceptionally well. I'd probably just more talking to his hasn't actually done it for a long time. But yeah, he's come back really well. He got very close to Incentivise in the Mackay Diva, beating home the likes of Sir Dragonet, Colette. That's Group 1 form any day of the week. It's just whether he can carry the weight against these ones that are progressive and running well down in the weights. He probably can. I was just happy enough to be against him, I think.
Fair enough. If you had told me a month ago that Riadini would be the $4.60 favourite for the Epsom Handicap, I would have laughed in your face. This horse and this stable have just completely turned things around the last month or so. I think I sent out a tweet, or we sent out a tweet yesterday. Gaybot, I think, have had something like 9 winners from their last 16 runners or something mental like that. This horse was completely legless in its first 2 starts. It couldn't get out of its own way, and there it is, just completely turning its form around and nearly topped off Very Elegant last start. I'll put the replay up again because this was him out in front. If I can rewind it a bit, this is him out in front. No, wrong replay. I'm not having much luck here. No. That was him out in front giving, Think It Over and Very Elegant a scare. You look at, he goes down to, 51.5 kilos here. Rachel King drawn wide. He's going to be up there on speed. Looks a very good setup for a race like this. But with that said, $4.60 is a little bit skinny for mine. How did you assess his chances?
Yeah, if you just went off his last 2 runs, I think it's clear why he's favourite. He's only run down by Think It Over, who is your best of the day in the Hill Stakes, and then Very Elegant last start, who's your favourite in a Group 1 Turnbull. So you go off those 2 runs, and he's almost a weights moral here. It's just what he's done before that. Beaten quite convincingly at Hawkesbury and then at 1,200 metres at Randwick as well. So Rachel King sticks with him, which is good. She can ride down in the weights, roll forward from the wide draw, no issue. I think he's got to be a live chance in this. It's just probably how much pressure he gets from a couple go forward types as well. If he doesn't get too much pressure and he can kind of give them the slip again, he's going to be very hard to run down with the weight.
Absolutely. And here's the replay I was alluding to. It took me a bit to find it, but I've got there in the end. Just different horses past 2 starts. Now, the track conditions will be all important here for this race. Like the likes of Hungry Heart, third up, lightweight, up at a mile. She could be some sort of chance in this race, but she wouldn't want it any wetter than, probably a good 4, soft 5 at best. All her best form is on good surfaces. So she's currently a $7.50 chance. I'd be waiting on her if you're keen, because if the rain does come, I'd be putting a line through her. A couple of Waller runners at bigger odds that I could make a case for, and I'm going to say a similar thing about horse number 10, Arameo, who he's had his first 2 starts for Waller's just been super. Alicia Collett goes on board, 51.5 kilos. Again, probably doesn't want it too wet, but he's in super form, looks suited to a race like this down in the weights. And I could even make a case for Reloaded, number 11, currently a $26 chance. I was this close to putting him in my horses to follow on Monday. I left him out, but his run last start in, I think, the Shannon Stakes was a beauty. Any more luck, he probably goes close to winning, albeit he probably was suited back to the inside on the day where the rail was playing like a monorail. So he got conditions to suit him there. But I thought his run was terrific and was screaming out for, a 1,600-metre race, a high-pressure 1,600-metre race down in the weights like this on the quick backup. So at $26 with Group 1G Boss on, he's definitely one you could include.
Glenn
just loves these Randwick miles, doesn't he?
The Randwick mile. He's won so many of the feature races of the Randwick mile. You'd be crazy to count him out, but yeah, he's a tough horse to catch. Reloaded.
All right, final horse I'll get your thoughts on because I know you're keen at one at $20 is Harmony Rose. Again, down in the weights, 50.5 kilos. Mark Newnham, A. Adkins.
Yeah, I thought she wasn't suited first up. 1,400 metres behind a tissue. All the speed came out of that race through scratchings, and she probably looked the leader on paper, but she missed the start, which is not like her. She got into a really tricky spot, ended up finishing 6th, only beaten 1.8 lengths by a tissue, who's in this race here again. Up to the mile definitely suits. Second up, she can only be fitter. She has probably got more improvement than most of these who were, deeper into their preps. Drawn wide again, we've said that's no issue for her. 50.5 kilos. I would have preferred Rachel King to stick with her, but she's chosen to stay with Rhea Deeney. Fair enough. But I thought at the price, she's going to roll forward, and with 50.5, she's probably going to give herself every chance there. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock me to see Harmony Rose run a big race each way, but you could make a case for hundreds of for everything in this field, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Half a dozen you could make a case for. Thanks, Daryl, for the comment coming through. These guys are good. The amount of research is outstanding. Well, sometimes we do ramble on some absolute rubbish, but we appreciate your thoughts and backing us up there. Hopefully we can, the research pays dividends in the Epsom. If it came to me, I'd certainly have something on Moonga. I just think the class horse in the race, this is, the class horses do come to the fore often in this race. It's not necessarily a handicap where those carrying the weight can't win. So I'd be having something on Moonga. If the track's not too wet, I'd be backing Arameo, and I'm also going to be putting something on Reloaded. As I said, blowout odds, Group 1G Boss on for Chris Waller. You just have to back basically all the Waller runners in these kinds of races. Getting back to the flight stakes, Jay Lyon sent a comment through. He's with Swift Witness in that race. Gay Waterhouse, right stable to be with. As we said, they're just absolutely airborne at the moment. Look, if you're keen on any runner in the flight stakes, I wouldn't be turning you off. So thanks for sending those comments through, guys. And anyone else with comments, keep sending them through. All right. The final Group 1 on the day at Royal Randwick is the Metropolitan. Now, I said before that wide barriers were the place to be for the Epsom. I think it's a case of low draws for the Metropolitan. And I've got a quick stat for you, Trent, because a couple of those high up in the market here are fillies and mares. We've got the likes of Montefilia, 4-year-old mare. She's ideal, a 6-year-old mare. They're both fancied in this race. What prices are we looking at? $5.50 for Montefilia. She's the favourite. She's ideal, not far off, $6. You have to go back to 2000 for Coco Cabana to find a mare that won the Group 1, the Metropolitan. Since then, 20 straight years, this horse has been taken out by a male. So there's a little bit of history to overcome there for She's Ideal and Montefilia. And barrier positions for this race, not knowing necessarily how many runners have lined up. This was just quickly as I pulled it up. Barriers 3, 3, 4, 8, 6, 1, 14, 8, and 4 have been the winning barriers since 2012. So I think 9 years, and you've only had one runner start from double figure barriers and won this race. So with that said, what are your thoughts on the Metropolitan?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting stat about the girls in this race, and they also they draw very wide. They're both going to have to go back. I ended up landing with the horse that was your best bet of the day last start, Untitled. Racing 3 weeks in a row here, so he's on the back up again. Out of the 2,400-meter race. Yeah, but you wouldn't doubt Waterhouse and Bott to do it at the moment. Their horses are just running so well. Tim Clark on, who's obviously riding a lot for them as well and riding very well for them. The ride on in the Congo was exceptional. Gets right down in the weights here, 52.5. He did meet Montefilia and She's Ideal, 2 back over 2,000 meters. Had every chance they're leading, and they both ran him down, but he gets in much better at the weights here. He's had the 2,400-meter lead up, which I like, and the map for him is just perfect from barrier 4. Doesn't need a lead, as we saw last start. He came from just off the speed, but he can lead if nothing else wants to take it up. Probably just sits just behind them. And I just think he's going to get the right run and present at the right time, whereas Montefilia and She's Ideal are going to be back in the field, giving him weight, and he's the fit horse that's going to be able to potentially pinch a break on them around the straight. So I'm with Entente on top in the Metropolitan. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, I've got recency bias because this was him winning last weekend. I was a bit filthy that the scratchings came through because I was keen on him at about $7 and thought it was just the each-way moral of the weekend, but we ended up with about $3.90 or $4 or something, and he won very easily. You're right, 3 weeks in a row on the quick backup, but you wouldn't put it past this stable. There he was winning last weekend, eased up on the line if you don't mind. Just gets a lovely draw. Down in the weights, 52.5 kilos. Tim Clark on board. A lot of his main dangers in this race are drawn wide. So, yes, I'm with you there. He has to be rated highly. $5.50 I thought was about as low as you want to go for him. If we were getting something like $10, I'd be diving in very keen. But $5.50, equal favoritism is, about right in the market, I think. I want to get your thoughts on one here at 20-1. This is a horse who resumed in Melbourne, I think. Let me just check my notes. I think he resumed at the Valley, yeah. Horse number 10, La Donne de Vie. We saw him win the Warrnambool Cup last year, or earlier this year, should I say, back in May. He resumed over 2,040 metres at the Valley, where he's beaten 2.5 lengths by De Graves. Second up here, up to 2,400 metres. We've seen this kind of form be solid enough for a race like this. I think Mirage Dancer came off a win or a run at Moonee Valley last year before winning the Metropolitan. So, again, he's drawn barrier 21, which is just awful. But we saw him go straight to the front or to the top in the Warrnambool Cup. I wouldn't be surprised to see Glenn Boss push on from this barrier. And he just brings that sort of profile that I thought he should be included at those sorts of odds. But you'd know the horse better than me, so I'm kind of asking you to confirm my thoughts there.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. He did have to carry a big weight there. He carried 58.5 there first up. And you say that Warrnambool Cup where he's beat Heart of Provence. Heart of Provence was desperately unlucky, but Heart of Provence, if I remember correctly, I think he was almost favourite all in for this race that they were targeting him for before he's unfortunately injured himself and is out for the spring. So if you want to take that kind of line, you could. I thought his first up run was very solid. Had to give De Graves 7.5 kilos. I think De Graves is a pretty handy horse when he gets conditions to suit. So look, the map's probably not ideal, but again, Glenn Boss on, potentially just says, right, I'm going to own this race straight to the front. Not too sure.
That's what I'm hoping.
Not the worst. Yeah, that's what I just thought rather.
At 20-1, you could certainly have worse bets in the race than him. And if again we come back to the track pattern and I suppose the track conditions, which will be all important, because I thought 50 or 60-1 for Hush Rider was also not the worst bet, providing we get firm ground. If the rain comes or it's anywhere near a soft 5, he's absolutely legless. You've got no hope at all. But if this is dry, he ran first up in the Newcastle Gold Cup. He was relatively well backed at double-figure odds. And I just thought he could be the big improver, second up 2,400 metres, back onto a firm deck with absolute no weight for Gaybot, who are firing, as we've said all show. So thought at 50 to 60-1, he could do something if the track wasn't too wet. Great House, he comes off the Group 3, a win of the Group 3 Newcastle Gold Cup. You just have to include every Waller runner in all of these kinds of races. We've touched on La Donne de Vie. And I thought Attorney was a complete setup job here. Third up, he comes off a run in the Kingston Town Stakes. J-Mac on for Matt Smith. I think third up last preparation, he won. Yes, he did. He won the Colin Stephen Quality Group 3 level over this distance at Rose Hill. So I thought, particularly the booking of J-Mac. I know he doesn't have that many to choose from with the weight he rides in these types of races, but I thought him going on third up for this stable was definitely an eye-catching thing, especially because he won over this distance third up last preparation. But yeah, it's an odd race, the Metropolitan. But betting-wise, I would probably, if I just have a look again at the market for winnersbet.com.au. As you can see here, wouldn't be backing any of those near the top of the weights. I'll be leaving Montefilia out. I'll be leaving She's Ideal out, both wide draws, both mares. Be happy to bet against them. $15 for Attorney, as I've just said, it's a good price. La Don de Vie at $20, I think, is a good price. Entente deserves his spot in the market at $5.50. And as you can see there, Hush Rider, $41. If it was to be a good track, I'd be having something on him too, but that's probably unlikely. Final runner I want your thoughts on is Zayrek. $11 into $6.50 in the winners bet market. I think he was also down to running the Group 3 Bart Cummings in Melbourne, but they decided to come here instead. Yeah,
I think he might still be in the Bart Cummings race. Let me just check that. Yeah, he's still in the Bart Cummings, so potentially they haven't made a decision yet. I'm not actually sure about that. He's got Will Price booked in at Flemington, so not sure. But
what price is he in the Bart Cummings?
I think he's about $17 or so.
Yeah, so it's $17 for the Bart Cummings, at $6.50 in the Metropolitan.
Yeah. I think the Bart Cummings is actually a stronger race, to be honest. There's a few international horses that look quite strong. But yeah, the market support for him in the Metropolitan has been fascinating. I think he was as much as only last week. He was about $51 all in, 26, 17. It's just kept being supported. So gets right down in the weights. He was only 2 lengths off She's Ideal Montefilia last start. Yeah, he's a tricky one. Barrier 3 potentially gets a nice run. He's probably short enough now, but fair play if you took the early price.
All right. Well, we're winding things up here. We've been going for half an hour already. It's flown by. So we'll move on to our next point of discussion, which is the RacingBet Supercoach League, which you have set up for us. You can see our code number on screen there, 815903. 815903. Why don't you take us through what it's all about for those that don't have a clue about it, Trent? And we want as many people joining our league as possible.
Yeah, so Racing Supercoach, it's been going for a few years now. It's good fun, free to play. Sign up, I think it's through the Herald Sun. You pick a stable of 8 horses each week and a jockey. You have a salary cap. Each horse is priced differently. For example, this week, Very Elegant is priced at $500,000. That's the highest. And then a horse coming off a maiden or whatever might be $50,000. Your top 7 scores count, so you effectively get 1 emergency. You can choose a captain each week they get double points. And you can basically you pick your team each week across the racing in Melbourne and Sydney. I think it goes for the next 8 weeks or so. Definitely join our league. We're up to 55 entries already overnight, which is fantastic.
Awesome.
We'll have some kind of prize or something. We'll work that out and post that on the socials. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we'll try and touch on it each week or ever so often, just to touch on who's winning the league and what it's all about.
Cool. So 815903 if you're interested. RacingBet Supercoach League. I'm in there. Trent's in there. All the boys at RacingBet are in there. And as you said, Trent, more than 50 people already in there. We're hoping to get it. Kicks off this weekend, you said?
Yep, this weekend. Yep. So I think your teams have to be in by Saturday morning or so. And then you can change it each week. So across Turnbull Stakes meeting and Epsom meeting at Randwick.
Beautiful. We're also going to be launching a premium section of the site over the Spring Carnival with more details to come on that. But we're basically going to be running it through a Discord group of sorts. So you'll be privy to basically some more, premium information that won't necessarily be going up on the RacingBet site. We'll still be keeping the majority of our free content, so don't stress there. If you're not interested in signing up, you'll still be getting all our free racing tips and previews. We won't be taking anything necessarily off there, but we're just going to be adding some more kind of premium information, some bets through the week that we may be having ourselves that won't be going up on the site. We might have some information that we're not able to share on the site. All that kind of stuff, and we're going to be running it through a Discord group. So there will be more information to come out through that. It's going to be cheap to join. We're not trying to rip people off. We're not trying to reward anyone or anything like that. We're just going to try and launch a little bit of a more premium section to the site that'll be relatively cheap to join. And it's basically going to be, just like a private chat with all of us that we have on ourselves, and all of us will be in there. And hopefully it gives you some sort of information that you can use that won't be going up for free on the site. So if you are interested, keep an eye out on the socials and on the website. That'll be launching sometime probably in the next week ahead of the Spring Carnival. All right, big day tomorrow, Trent. We've got a meeting at Sha Tin in Hong Kong, into the Valley at night. We've got Kalgoorlie Cup on Saturday. Media Baron will be winning that race, I would have thought. We'll have a preview up for that as well. But if you are interested in having an early bet for Saturday, Media Baron in the Kalgoorlie Cup does look exceptionally hard to beat. Rated about 15 points above some horses that he's giving 2 kilos to. And if you want a sick beat to watch, go back and watch his run last start. He should have won. And he'll be very hard to beat in the Cal Cup. But Hong Kong into the Valley tomorrow night, Trent. Have you had an early look at tomorrow's Valley card?
I haven't. I was going to start form tonight or maybe early tomorrow morning. So that'll be a full preview. Every race covered will be up sometime tomorrow afternoon. All the Flemington form's done. Runner by runner of the Turnbull will be up shortly. There's plenty of content to get stuck into.
Okay, and a quick comment before we go off the air from Daryl. He says, can Sir Dragonet win the Turnbull?
I'm going to say no. He has to carry the full 59 kilos. I think he'd want it wet, and I think he might have to go back from the map. His run first up in the Maccabi Diva was huge, but he's got to get past Incentivize again, worse off at the weights, and beat Very Elegant. So he's definite top 4 and a good place chance. I think he'd probably unlikely to upset both the favourites.
All right. Group 1 Caulfield Guineas Day next weekend, as well as the Spring Champion Stakes in Sydney. So the weeks just keep rolling, and so do the Group 1s. Thanks for joining us. If you did tune in live tonight, we hope you got something out of it. Hopefully we haven't rambled on for too long, but we'll continue to look to keep doing this throughout the spring. And we thank Winners Bet for their sponsorship of this week's episode. Bye for now.